Good morning, everybody. TGIF. Thank God it's Florida. I'm loving Florida. Look at this beautiful neighborhood I'm in. Give it a few seconds to give everybody a chance to hop on. Staying at an awesome Airbnb. I love Orlando. I love Florida. I actually lived in Florida for a number of years. I lived in Florida for about 3 years. I lived in South Florida. Love the place. And the cool thing about Florida is that there's no state income taxes. So I've got a long day ahead of me. A long day of productive learning and networking and forming strategic alliance. Good morning, Trevor Jecko, my new friend. How are you, my brother? Good to see you. I think you're in Holland, right? So I'm just going on a little morning stroll. And I want to share my daily dose of hope with you guys. I want to keep you guys in the loop about what's going on. I had a little bit of time to do some study and some research last night. Good morning, Fatima. I love your name because I love Our Lady of Fatima. One of my favorite Marian devotions. Very few people think of our Blessed Mother as a prophet, but she was dead on with all of her prophecies of Fatima. Maybe I'll do another video about that, about the prophecies of Fatima going back to 1917. So, I'm going to get right into this. Then I'm going to get my Uber. And I'm going to go back to the House of Mouse so that I can continue to increase my IQ. Because you should never despise learning. It says in Proverbs chapter, you don't want to be a fool. You don't want to despise reproof. So you always want to learn. Good morning, everybody. New conservative follow, Ed. Glad to have you, Ed Parent. Thanks for following me. And trying to get in the habit of doing this in the beginning and the end of my videos. If you have not done so, folks, please subscribe to my YouTube channel, to all my social media. I made it easy. I put the link in the description to subscribe to all my channels. Follow me on all my channels. Please like this video, share it, comment on it. Helps me with the algorithms. So let's get into this, guys. I'm going to open by giving you guys some free value. I like to give as good as I get. I get a lot of fulfillment walking this journey with you guys. Good morning, Ed Labs, my brother, my Catholic brother, Ed Labs. I get a lot of fulfillment giving you guys hope and encouragement, and I feel like I should give back. I am on Parler, Jenny Mary. Just look up Bobby Hesley. I'm also on MeWe. Just look up Bobby Hesley on both platforms. You'll find me. So I want to give back to you guys. So I want to give you some free value. For those of you who might be interested in making passive income with rental properties, one of the biggest fears that people have when they get into landlording is they fear, and this is a valid fear because this can wreck your investment in a rental property, is that they fear getting the wrong tenant in their property. They fear getting a irresponsible tenant, maybe a party animal kind of a tenant, somebody who doesn't live a clean, low-key, drama-free, responsible lifestyle. So that deters a lot of people from getting into real estate investing. And that's unfortunate because real estate investing, I believe, is the key to wealth. I believe it's more secure than the stock market because no matter what's going on in the economy, everybody is going to need shelter. Food, healthcare, and shelter are the three fundamental needs. No matter what's going on in the economy, people are always going to need those three things. So it's a recession-proof business. And you don't want fear to prevent you from getting into a business. And most of what we fear is based on ignorance. We fear what we don't understand. Because what we don't understand puts us in a position to where we don't have control. So here's a quick little tip about how to weed out 95% of the kind of tenants from hell that deter most people from getting into real estate. What you do is you get your rental property, you get it rent ready, you fix it up real nice to make it habitable for somebody. And what you do is you have an open house on a Saturday morning at 7:30 a.m. The only time you show it is Saturday morning at 7:30 a.m. And what that's going to do is weed out 95% of all the people that are out partying and drinking and are hungover. Irresponsible people don't wake up on Saturday mornings at 7:30 a.m. to look at properties to rent. They just don't. So anybody who shows up to that rental open house is going to be a very responsible person. They're willing to wake up. I'd be willing to speak. I'd have some interest in speaking to at-risk youth, Chad. I definitely would. But anybody who is willing to wake up and drive across town at 7:30 a.m. on a Saturday morning to look at a property, that's a really good tenant. That's somebody who's really going to bless your investment portfolio. And technically, they're not waking up at 7:30. That's when the open house starts. They would probably have to wake up at 5:45, 6 a.m. maybe even earlier. So anybody who wakes up that early and drags themselves to your house, that's going to be a killer tenant. So there's my free value for the day, guys. Again, I give as good as I get. So let's get into this. I believe that Donald Trump is winning. All of you believe that Donald Trump is winning. And ironically enough, I believe that most Democrats deep down believe that Donald Trump is winning. But here's what my concern is about the way things are going right now. My concern is this: the media has prematurely crowned Joe Biden. They have christened him as the winner. We all know, we've been hearing this ad nauseum, that the media doesn't decide who the president is. We get it. We've all said that a million times, and we all know that. And it's good that we know that. The problem is, we cannot underestimate the influence of the media. We cannot downplay how powerful and how influential the media is. The media is a formidable ally, or a formidable foe. They really are. The media is not to be underestimated or toyed with, because they influence a lot of people. They really do. They wrongly influence a lot of people. They mislead a lot of people, guys. And the reason why the media is able to successfully mislead so many people is because it's wired into our human nature. And I believe this is a result of the fall. This is what Catholic theology calls original sin. Original sin is a state, not an act. It's a condition, not a commission. In other words, original sin is what makes it easy. It makes it easier to commit vice than it does to practice virtue. That's the best way to sum up original sin. And part of our fallen human condition is that we are wired to take the path of least resistance. We are wired to maximize pleasure and minimize pain. That's what the condition of fallen man is that we foolishly try to spend all of our time pursuing things that maximize pleasure and also avoiding things so that we can minimize pain. And I believe that when it comes to getting informed, when it comes to doing research, when it comes to keeping up to date, the path of least resistance, good morning, the path of least resistance is to just turn on the fake news and listen to what all these biased, agenda-driven spin doctors have to say about what's going on in the country. Because that way you don't have to do your own research. You don't have to put down the video games. You don't have to put down whatever it is you like doing with your time, that informing yourself and educating yourself and doing research and being a scholar and a gentleman would actually cut into. Knowledge comes at a price, guys. Nobody's born knowing their stuff. It takes hours, years, months of research and education. It takes habits to stay informed. And there's certain choices and sacrifices you have to make to do that. Because of original sin, we're wired to not want to do that. So people turn on the fake news and they say, oh, look, honey, Joe Biden's the president now. And unfortunately, there are millions upon millions of people who have that lazy attitude about it. So I said all that to say this. What my concern is that the media has now made the Joe Biden presidency guaranteed and inevitable in the minds of millions of people. They've set up a fake presidency. He's not even president-elect yet. He's not even certified until December 14th. Okay? There are certain states that are still counting, guys. Alaska just called Trump, they just called Alaska for Trump yesterday. There's valid counting that's still going on, guys. This thing is far from over. But in the minds of many people who take we'll call them the path of least resistance crowd, that tune into the fake news for their view of how the world is, they think this thing is over. And they've already moved on from Trump. And they've already accepted Joe Biden as the winner. Not knowing that this thing is far from over, not knowing about all the things I'm getting ready to talk about in this video. So what's going to happen is when Trump wins, not if, but when Trump wins, all of these people are going to feel like something has been taken away from them. They're going to feel like Trump stole the election. They're going to feel like Trump took the election away from Joe Biden, when in actuality, it's Joe Biden who took the election away from Trump. But the media has been working overtime to gaslight everybody and accuse the Republicans of the behavior that the Democrats are actually guilty of. That's the classic definition of gaslighting. And I did a whole video a week ago about that. So that's what my concern is. And we have to be ready for that, guys. We have to be ready for the pushback. You're right, Melanie. Melanie Mape's going off. The riots are going to be insane, guys. So let me get into Trump's path to victory. This is why we are winning. This is why Trump is winning, guys. And this is how Trump is winning. So there have been 623,000 unlawful ballots, according to Rudy Giuliani, who is the lead counsel for the Trump campaign. He's the lead legal beagle. He's the lead attack dog. And he has basically said in an interview with Lou Dobbs, you could find it easily online, that there are 623,000 fraudulent ballots, unlawful ballots that were uncovered in Pennsylvania. According to Giuliani, they've all been discovered and they're all going to be litigated. That's going to flip Pennsylvania to Trump. In Michigan, he said that there were 320 unlawful ballots. Now, I don't know if he meant 320,000 and he just made a mistake, or only 320. But the number actually doesn't matter. And the reason why is because even if they only found a handful of unlawful ballots, that's enough to take it to court. That's enough to win in court. And that's enough to kick it all the way up to the Supreme Court. Because what we have to realize, guys, the Supreme Court is an appellate court. You guys ever hear the phrase final court of appeal? There are certain courts that are set up strictly to take cases where people are appealing lower rulings. They're trying to appeal or combat rulings. It's called an appellate court. And that's what the Supreme Court is. The Supreme Court is an appellate court. It's the highest appellate court in the land. So we have enough states that are uncovering these unlawful ballots. They're all mail-in ballots. And some of them are from counting machines that I'll get into. That's going to take us to the Supreme Court. Now, let's talk about Dominion software. We've been hearing a lot about Dominion software. Some people say that Nancy Pelosi and her husband own it. Some people say that Dianne Feinstein own it. I haven't gotten to the bottom of who owns it, so don't quote me on that. But I'll give you a little bit of background on it. It was created back in 2003, 2004-ish, early 2000s. And it was created by a company called Smartmatic. Now get this, guys. Smartmatic is a software company that originates from Venezuela. It's a foreign software company originated from Venezuela. When I say Venezuela, I mean Venezuela as in Hugo Chavez, communist Venezuela. Maduro, communist Venezuela. Yeah, that Venezuela. And that's the origin of that software. And it was a software that was basically designed to fix elections, guys. It's a cheating, fraudulent software. And that's what it was designed for. And the company is based out of Canada. Get this. It's based out of Canada, guys. So it's funny how for the last 4 years, we've been hearing about the Democrats talking about foreign interference in elections. Well, again, that's gaslighting, guys, because they used a software in many states that's based in Canada that was originally created in communist Venezuela that is literally stealing votes from Donald Trump and flipping them to Joe Biden. Hundreds and hundreds of thousands of votes that are being uncovered that are flipping to Biden, that really belong to us. Now, let's get into this Pennsylvania victory. We've all been hearing about this court that ruled. The Pennsylvania Supreme Court ruled in favor of the Republicans. It's a big deal and it's not a big deal. Let me start off with why it's not a big deal. So long story short, in Pennsylvania, when it comes to their mail-in ballots, they have till 6 days after the election, which would put it at November 9th, to verify their ID. In other words, they have to verify their mail-in ballot by sending in some form of ID to validate that vote. And they were given 6 days to do that. Now, the Secretary of State of Pennsylvania decided to take things upon herself and say, you know what? I'm just going to tamper with the electorate, and I'm going to take it upon myself to give everybody an extra 3 days. We're going to extend it to November 12th to give everybody just a couple extra days to get their IDs verified. The Supreme Court in Pennsylvania ruled that this Secretary of State, and I forget her name because this is all off the top of my head, that she lacked statutory authority to extend the voter ID verification process another 3 days. They already had 6 days, and she lacked the statutory authority to extend it another 3 days. Now, that only affected about 2,100 ballots. So that's how it's no big deal. Because 2,100 ballots, that ain't going to sway anything either direction. Yeah, it's nice that we got 2,100, fraudulent, unconstitutional votes thrown out, but it's only 2,100, guys. There's hundreds of thousands of questionable votes in that state. So that's why it's not a big deal. Here's why it is a big deal, though. The reason why it is a big deal is because this is a case that I believe, this Pennsylvania ruling, is what's going to take this whole thing, this whole election to the Supreme Court. I believe that Pennsylvania ruling in our favor that struck down the additional 3 days that the Secretary of State gave to count the ballots, I believe that is going to be the spark that starts the forest fire, that starts the wildfire of this thing going to the Supreme Court. That's why that's a big deal, guys. That's why it's a really big deal. Now, here's what I want you guys to do in the meantime. This is my call to action. Firstly, guys, let me take a little break and say to please subscribe to my YouTube channel, guys. Please, subscribe to my YouTube channel. Watch my videos on there. You'll enjoy them. There's a nice little library that's building there. Make sure you like the videos. Make sure you comment on the videos. Make sure you share those videos. Subscribe to my Twitter, my Instagram. Please do so now, guys, if you get a chance. But here's what I want you guys to do in the meantime. I want everybody to call their state legislator, everybody in America. I want you to call up your state legislator, and I want you to demand that they refuse to certify this election without an audit and without a recount. Call your state legislators, guys. Don't fax them. Don't email them. You can email them if you want, but make sure you call them. Be willing to be on hold for a little bit. Do it for your country. And threaten them that you're not going to vote for them if they don't do this. Don't physically threaten them. Don't be an idiot. Don't threaten anarchy or any kind of violence. Be peaceful about it. Be lawful about it. But threaten to withhold your vote and your support from them if they don't refuse to certify this election without a recount and without an audit. Do it, guys. Thank you, Jackson Pinckney. Do it, guys. No matter what state you're in, call your legislatures. Well, if we already won, Chad, then they're going to certify a legit election. So either way, we win. Email also. I agree. Okay? And make sure that you demand two things, a recount and an audit. Let's invoke our Al Gore rights. It's okay for the Democrats to do recounts. Al Gore did recounts for 37 days back in the year 2000. So if it's okay for the Democrats to do recounts, it's okay for us Republicans to do recounts, especially when we have 6 or 7 different states that we have proof of irregularities, whereas Al Gore only had 1 or 2 counties in South Florida, and he held up the whole thing. Now, here's what I predict will happen. This is why I'm excited about the idea of this going to the Supreme Court, where Amy Coney Barrett, the Catholic Mother of 7, awaits, the constitutionalist, the smartest woman in any room that she walks into. Here's what excites me about the Supreme Court, guys, because I truly believe that the U.S. Supreme Court, not the Pennsylvania Supreme Court, the U.S. Supreme Court, the final court of appeal, the highest appellate court in the land, is going to rule that this election is invalid. Okay? And there's going to be 2 reasons why they rule that it's invalid. The first reason is, I believe it's going to be due to fraud. This is why it's so important that you call up your state legislatures and you demand a recount and an audit, because that's what's going to continue to uncover all the massive fraud. Not only with the mail-in ballots, but also with the software that's being investigated. This Dominion software that is literally flipping votes from Donald Trump to Joe Biden. Okay? They're also going to rule, I believe, against this election because of the massive incompetence. And I put incompetence in quotes because incompetence is always a slick little thing that they like to do to basically cover up their fraud. It's orchestrated incompetence. I refer to it as competent incompetence. They're being incompetent on purpose so that they can cover up their fraud. They're acting like they're making mistakes. Kind of like the woman who wants to get the guy's attention. So she'll purposely knock over something on her desk because this guy she has a crush on, she knows that he's a gentleman, and she knows that he will walk over to her desk and pick it up, put it on her desk, and that'll open up a conversation. Oh, clumsy me. I just knocked this over on my desk. Oh, clumsy me. And that's how the conversation starts, right? Orchestrated incompetence, competent incompetence. That's what these Democrats are doing. They're acting like they're making mistakes, but they damn well know that they're not. So there's going to be one of two outcomes when this goes to the Supreme Court, guys. I believe that they're going to rule that the mail-in ballots are unconstitutional, and they're going to demand recounts without them. In other words, they are going to rule that all these mail-in ballots that have all these irregularities, whether it's dead people voting or lacking IDs or backdated ballots, there are so many different forms of fraud with these mail-in ballots that it ain't even funny. Or even ballots that weren't allowed to be counted in the presence of Republican poll challengers. This is supposed to be a bipartisan process, guys. There should be one Republican for every Democrat that's counting ballots and vice versa. It can't be one party. You can't have the fox building the chicken coop. You can't have a bunch of Democrats running the show without any Republicans present. It's got to be bipartisan, guys. So there are so many different ways that these mail-in ballots are fraudulent and unconstitutional. Dead people voting, lacking ID, backdated ballots, ballots counted in secret without Republicans there to watch. The Democrats have been extremely sloppy in their desperation to steal this election. And it's coming back to haunt them, guys. It's really biting them, I'm telling you. It's really starting to bite them. So they're going to demand recounts without those ballots. And if that happens, if they demand recounts without these mail-in ballots, that Trump landslide that we've been talking about is going to happen, guys. It's going to happen. The other thing that could happen is that, here's what I want you guys to realize. If they strike these mail-in ballots, you have to realize that it's a double whammy for Biden. So let me give you an example. In Wisconsin, there were 19,500 ballots that were found to be flipped for Biden and away from Trump. Joe Biden lost 39,000 votes when that happened. Not only did they eliminate his 19,500 point lead in those ballots, but they also credited Trump with 19,500. So you got to realize that's a double swing in the other direction. Does that make sense? And that's going to happen in a lot more states too, guys. That's going to happen in a lot more states. Now, the final part of this video is, here's where another thing could happen. Love you too, man. I love all you guys. Here's another reason to be very hopeful, my fellow Republicans, my fellow patriots, my fellow Americans. I want you guys, when you get some time, and not only do I not have a whole lot of time to get into it now, because I got to get my Uber so I can get back down to the House of Mouse, so I can continue learning my awesome things that I'm learning at this real estate investing seminar. But I also want you guys to own your knowledge. I want you to own your research. And I want you to kind of do some of the work yourself. I want you to familiarize yourselves with the 12th Amendment. That's my homework assignment for you guys today. I want you to look up the 12th Amendment. It's easily accessible online. Just pull up your phone and study the 12th Amendment. I want you to get really familiar with the 12th Amendment. Okay? Get intimately familiar with the 12th Amendment, because this 12th Amendment is going to be your friend and companion over the next several weeks. This 12th Amendment is going to help you keep your sanity. The 12th Amendment is going to help keep you anchored. And the 12th Amendment is going to really, really help you appreciate the genius and the foresight of our founding fathers. There are so many safety mechanisms that they put in place. There are so many checks and balances. There are so many contingencies, constitutional contingencies, safeguards, safety nets. There are all kinds of things that our brilliant founding fathers put in place so that when things like this happen, there are workarounds and there are safeguards to safeguard our republic. Okay? So let me give you the elevator pitch. Let me give you the long story short, the Cliff Notes version of what the 12th Amendment is. Basically, what the 12th Amendment is the 12th Amendment gives Congress, and by Congress, I technically mean the House. It gives Congress, well, the House and the Senate, it gives Congress the power, the right, and the authority to decide who the president is when there's not a clear winner in a presidential contest. Now, don't let that freak you out, guys. Don't let that make you nervous. Don't let that make you feel like, oh my gosh, it's going to be in the hands of Congress to decide who the president of the United States is. Isn't that kind of subjective? Isn't that kind of arbitrary? Aren't we, again, letting the foxes build the chicken coop? Nancy Pelosi is going to decide who the president is. Mitch McConnell is going to decide who the president is. No, guys, here's how it works. The 12th Amendment provides for the fact that if Congress has to decide who the president of the United States is, each state in the union has to cast a vote. And whoever the legislator is in each state, whichever party has the majority in that legislature, that's what the deciding vote is. So there are 50 states in the union. Each state has Democrats and Republicans in the legislature. Get this, guys. Of the 50 states that are in the United States, 30 of those states are Republican-controlled states. 30 of those states have a Republican majority legislature. And this is why you guys need to call your legislatures, call your state legislatures, and demand that this election not be certified unless it's recounted and audited. And threaten them with pulling your vote and your support for them if they don't do that. Put a little pressure on them, guys. They work for us. We sent them there. We pay their salary with our tax dollars. We decide the course of their lives. They don't decide the course of our lives. So get this, guys. If it goes to Congress, President Trump wins. Because there are 30 states that are Republican. He's going to get 30 Republican votes and 20 Democrat votes are going to go for Biden. We're going to win by 10 states, guys. We have a 10-state spread advantage if this goes to Congress. And I truly believe that the Supreme Court, the Amy Coney Barrett Supreme Court, is going to kick this thing over to Congress, and they're going to require that Congress rule and that Congress vote on who the president is. And if that happens, guys, we got another 4 more years. We got another 4 years, guys. So have hope, guys. Do not let the media manipulation get to you. Don't let it get to you, guys. We are winning in so many ways. We're recuperating votes. We're recovering votes that have been stolen, that are being uncovered to be fraudulent. We're winning court cases. We're winning lawsuits. We got the Supreme Court looking at us. We got state Supreme Courts ruling in our favor. We're uncovering fraudulent software. And here's my closing thoughts, guys. The Democrats knew that Joe Biden wasn't going to win. And I believe that the Democrats planned on Joe Biden losing from the get-go. I believe that they purposely picked a losing candidate because they know that there's nobody that they could put up against President Trump that would win. There's nobody on the Democrat side, guys. Survey our opposition. Take a look at the Democrat Party. Who could they possibly put up against Trump? I don't even think AOC is old enough to run. You got to be at least 35 years old. Is AOC, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, is she 35 years old, guys? Sound off in the comments. I don't know. Put her age in the comments. She ain't old enough to run. Maxine Waters, she can't even get a coherent sentence out of her mouth. Nancy Pelosi's too busy getting duped by parlors and holding on to her teeth. Think about it, guys. Chuck Schumer, they're going to put Chuck Schumer up? They're going to put Michelle Obama up? Who does the Democrat Party have that they could have possibly put up against Trump that would have stood a chance? Joe Biden was the logical answer. 31, there you go. So AOC is not even old enough to run for president, guys. You got to be at least 35. So think about that, guys. They picked Joe Biden because Joe Biden is the low-hanging fruit. He was the last vice president that we had prior to this administration. He's got the longest record of 47 years. He's their favorite systemic racist. They want to pick the most anti-black, anti-baby candidate they can pick. And Jim Crow Joe is the most racist, abortion-hungry candidate to run for office outside of Barack Obama and Hillary Clinton. He was the perfect pick. But they knew that in picking him, he still wasn't going to win. So that in the Democrat mind, they're thinking, okay, how? Yeah, the trolls are coming out this morning. Just ignore the trolls, guys. Just ignore them. Just let them buzz around your ears like little gnats. It's okay. But think about this, guys. The Democrats wanted to plan a delegitimization scheme. They wanted to set up a narrative. And I made a video about this last week, guys. You'll find it when it comes to gaslighting. The Democrats knew that they were going to lose no matter who they put up against Trump, no matter who they put up against him. So I believe that they orchestrated their own defeat just so that they can take away the victory from Trump. It's like I said, we're not going to lose this election, but we're also not going to quite win it either, because they're not going to allow us to enjoy the full victory, because for the next 4 years, they are going to say that we stole this election. They're going to say that Trump stole the election, when in actuality, they are the ones who did it. They're the ones who stole it. But that's what gaslighting is, guys. That's another homework assignment for you. Study gaslighting. It's a predatory manipulation tactic that abusive people use, where they will accuse the very victim that they are abusing of the actions that they're doing to the victim. That's what they do. That's classic gaslighting, guys. You victimize somebody and you accuse your victim of the toxic abusive behavior that you're putting on your victim. That's what the Democrats are doing. They are stealing the election. They are abusing Republicans. They are abusing President Trump. And they are accusing us of doing those things so that everybody who's watching can think that we're the ones who are guilty of the things that we're actually being, that are actually being done to us. And that's what they're doing, guys. It's a brilliant plan if you think about it. Because Trump is going to kick butt for the next 4 years. Don't get me wrong. He's going to have a great second term. And I've always said, guys, Trump's second term is going to be pretty historic. Because think of everything that Trump did in his first term without a thought for his second term. He built the wall. He cut taxes. He made all the advances for the black community. He did the Israel-UAE deal. He drained the swamp. He did so many things in his first term without a thought for whether or not it could cost him re-election. He had a lot to lose in his first term, and yet he didn't allow that to paralyze him about getting things done. Now that he's got nothing to lose, now that he's going to be in his second term, we ain't going to see no prolonged riots, guys. If these crazies decide to riot and decide to do their little chaos anarchy dance, Trump's going to send in the National Guard fast. He's going to shut that down real fast because he's in his second term and he don't care. He's going to be a bull in a china shop. And that's what I believe is going to happen, guys. So take heart, take courage, buckle up for these next few weeks, guys. Sana wants me to become the next Michigan governor. Oh, man. I really appreciate it when you guys tell me I should run for office. It's very flattering, trust me. But, you know, again, I think I could do better in the private sector. I think I can get more done for my country, for my fellow man, if I stay in the private sector. I really do. I don't think I'd be cut out for office. You know, just because you're good at something doesn't mean you love it. Doesn't mean that you would love doing it. Who knows? Maybe I'd be a good politician. But I would rather be a businessman. I'd rather be an influencer. I'd rather be an educator. I'd rather be a Catholic apologist, an evangelist. I would rather do all those things. But never say never. But right now I'm going to say never. So those are my thoughts, guys. I hope you enjoyed the video. For those of you who hopped on late, wait for this video to render and go back to the beginning. I gave you guys some free valuable advice. If you're interested in, bettering your situation. But just take heart, guys, that a Democrat majority does not matter. Even though the Democrats have a majority in the House, even though we barely held on to the Senate, none of that matters. Because if and when the Supreme Court kicks this thing back to Congress to vote on it, it goes by each state. Each state has to cast a vote. And the prevailing vote is whichever majority party is in that state. Okay? There's 30 Republican states and there's 19 Democrat states. So we got it, guys. We're going to win 30-19. We got it, guys. I truly believe we've got it. Okay? So have a great day, guys. I'm going to get my Uber so I can get down to the House of Mouse and continue my awesome trip down here in Florida. I'm going to do a little sightseeing tomorrow. Even though today is the last day of this 2-day seminar, I'm staying till Sunday because I want to do some, some sightseeing tomorrow. I'm going to go to Universal Studios. I'm going to go to Disney World. Just hang out, have a little break, reap a little bit of the fruit of my labor. I've been working really hard for Trump and for myself. So I needed a little vacation. So anyway, guys, I love you. Have a happy Friday. And we will see you in a couple weeks. Hang in there, guys. Hang in there. Hold the line. Do not retreat. And if you haven't done so, please subscribe to my YouTube channel and to all my other social media. Please like and share this video and comment on it. And I appreciate your support in advance. God bless.